Today we're going to talk about Chud.
Chud?
What?
C.H.U.D.
Well, let's get it out of the way so we can move on. What the hell does Chud mean?
A cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
That's actually the fake definition. You'll find out later that it really stands for something else.
Well, I know what CHUD stands for. Cannibalistic my ass. Contamination Hazard Urban Disposal.
This is one of those movies that banks on you being fascinated by the title, and it offers little else. Chud was released in 1984, but in recent times it's most known because it's been referenced on The Simpsons.
And that's when the Chuds came at me.
Oh, Homer, of course you'll have a bad impression of New York if you only focus on the pimps and the chuds.
That statement alone is more entertaining than the entire 88 minutes of the film. It's so boring, and you barely even see the Chuds.
Shoot who?
Ugly fuckers.
What ugly fuckers?
That's what I'm wondering. 23 minutes in, and I haven't seen anything yet. Then, 30 minutes in, still nothing exciting has happened yet. I've seen no monsters, no aliens, nothing. It's all just boring dialogue. A half hour of my time wasted. And now the photographer's girlfriend announces that she's gonna have a baby.
Dr. Brimner called this afternoon. It's official. I'm pregnant.
There's a whole scene discussing it. This movie's called Chud. I'm watching it to see some weird-ass creatures attacking people, not listen to a woman talk about having a baby. Whoever made this had no sense of pacing or what their audience was looking to see. The monsters do not show up often enough at all. Even when they do, it's so brief you could blink and miss it. There's a guy in a phone booth that's murdered, and there's a quick attack in a subway tunnel, but they both only last a few seconds. Then John Goodman, Dan from Roseanne, shows up playing a cop. He and his buddy are making wisecracks at the waitress. The way this scene is set up, you'd expect this to be the highlight of the film. Like the monsters would come in and wreak havoc, maybe something crazy like the bar scene in Gremlins, but nope. As soon as you see the monsters, it cuts to later when everybody's dead. Even the ending is a letdown. The Chud just has his head chopped off with a sword. And then after that, the movie keeps going where Marv the Wet Bandit from Home Alone saves the day by shooting the corrupt villain who's just a regular human. And you never even see the Chuds again. The amount of time you see the monsters on screen is pitiful. For every 15 minutes of boring dialogue with people in business suits talking at an office table, there's about 6 seconds of Chud footage. There was a rumor floating around that Rob Zombie was going to remake Chud at one point, which makes no sense. Why would anybody remake an obscure, low-budget piece of trash that nobody even cares about in the first place? How about remake Voodoo Man with Bela Lugosi while we're at it? Nobody cares about that movie, so let's have Rob Zombie remake it. Then, at the tail end of the 80s, 1989 to be exact, there was Chud 2, Bud the Chud. In this one, some high school kids are told to pick up a corpse for a science experiment. It ends up rolling down the highway in a comedic sequence, and they lose track of it. So now their plan is to steal a replacement corpse. They get one and bring it home and stick it in the bathtub, but it looks like the combination of a hairdryer and the bubble bath wakes it up. Anyway, the corpse turns out to be a Chud named Bud, played by Garrett Graham, who I remember most as Beef from Phantom of the Paradise. The Chuds here are more like zombies than the Chuds that we knew from before. After they bite somebody, the person becomes a Chud themselves.
The Chudified brain, however, lurches into a second life.
Chudified. That's what they say in this movie when somebody's been transformed. It's a play on the term zombified. In the first film, the Chuds were some kind of mutant humanoid beings created from toxic waste. But here, since they're reanimated like corpses, they're more like the living dead.
You have a live dead guy lying in your bathroom.
Also, the makeup looks nothing like the first film at all. By the end of the movie, they don't even try anymore. Now they're just calling them zombies.
The end of civilization, a world filled with zombies.
Also, the tone of the movie is entirely different from the first as well. You can't go into this movie expecting anything even remotely serious. It's not Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead, and it bears no connection with the first Chud whatsoever. This movie is just a silly comedy with some zombie-like creatures thrown in. It really shouldn't even be called Chud at all. There's a very 80s Thriller-inspired dance number, and Bud the Chud even has his own theme song.
Bud the Chud. Bud the Chud.
The whole thing is just ridiculous. Bud finds a photograph of a girl who he's become infatuated with. He goes on a rampage, turning his victims into zombie cannibal creatures, and two of the people that he chudifies are June Lockhart from Lost in Space and Norman Fell, Mr. Roper, from Three's Company. If that's not enough cameos for you, even Robert Englund passes by in one short scene. though you'd seriously never notice it unless you were searching for them. So the government fails at stopping this spreading epidemic, and the kids have to step in to save the day. It's classic 80s horror formula. Overall, this is an okay movie. The final scene where they finally dispose of the Chuds in the pool by electrocution is entertaining, but the problem is that there's no real gore anywhere in the film. I guess they were trying to keep it more family-friendly or something, but having no blood really hurts what otherwise would have been a really great zombie romp. The death scenes are begging for some blood, but most of the time the kills are off-camera, shot at a distance or from behind a dumpster. It's really a letdown in that respect. Out of the two movies, though, I enjoyed the second one much more than the first. It's not acted or directed any better than the first, but at least it has a sense of humor about it, and it doesn't take itself way too seriously like the first film. So, if you're gonna watch one, go for the second film. This Chud's for you.